The door opened with a hiss of venting gases, swinging inwards to reveal the cavern etched into the lion's memories. Much had changed, but it was unmistakably the same place. The vaulted ceiling, nearly 70 meters high and banded with rock strata of many colors, was pierced now by rings bearing heavy chains from which hung guttering gaslights. The walls, nearly 200 meters apart at their widest, were obscured behind panels of mechanicum machinery and devices, so that the bare stone was hidden behind banks of dials and levers, flashing lights and coils of cabling and pipelines. Gantries and walkways, steps and ladders were arranged around the device itself, with sensor probes monitoring dishes and scaffolding further enmeshing the center of the warp device. The thing itself was still there. The sentience. Or at least the semi-sentience that had enslaved a whole star system, hanging in midair like a world in firmament. It was as perfect a sphere of marbled black and dark gray, with flecks of gold that moved slowly across its surface. 10.67 meters in diameter. The lion remembered the mechanicum's first measurement exactly. It was made of an unknown material, impenetrable to every sensor, drill, and device that the mechanicum had brought with them. The lion knew that the thing was regarding him with some alien sense. He was not sure how he could tell, nor how the warp device could sense him in return, but the fact remained that he was convinced it saw him this time as much as he had been convinced the first time he had entered this hall. On that occasion, several hundred rag-clad Perditans had died in the next few minutes, unwilling or unable to lay down their primitive weapons, forced to defend their demigod to the last breath and drop of blood. There was something else different. At first unnoticed amongst the rest of the mechanicum clutter, two protuberances now extended from the sphere, one at each pole, each only a few centimeters long. The rounded nodules touched against the circuit-covered plates stationed above and below the device, which in turn were linked by a dizzying web of wires and cables to surround the machines. On a mat in front of the orb lay a small boy, aged perhaps no more than 7 or 8 Terran years. He lay immobile on his side, eyes unblinking, as stiff as a corpse, which he might have been if it were not for the gentle rise and fall of his chest. The lion could hear the boy's heart beating ever so slowly, and could smell sweat and urine in the air. Hey friends, it's me, Dingle Dingle, the Ebony Otaku, the well-rounded nerd. I really love these little dancing skeleton earrings, but they be getting caught in my hair. So today, I am reading from The Primarchs, continuing in this small theme of stories that make me thankful. I was thinking, are there Warhammer stories that make us thankful? Thankful I'm not in the 41st millennium, sure am. Because in the future, there's only war. And I choose not to participate in so much war. But there's more. Perhaps one of the most controversial entities, beings, concoctions of the Warhammer universe might be that of the Servitor. So maybe I should have given you a small warning at the beginning of this video, because, but we gonna talk about servitors. This ain't for everybody. I'm just reporting the news, all right? Don't come for me. So what is a servitor? Lobotomized slaves. I've got no other explanation for what a servitor is or why a person could be chosen to become a servitor. In the 41st millennium, there is an abundance of one resource that is equally the most precious and the most expendable, and that would be human lives. That's what makes it such an incredible set of series to read, whether you're into the 30K, the 40K. Like, we all know she's a lore girly first. I came into Warhammer for the lore, and I stayed for the plastic. But when you go through the lore, while it's magnificent battles, it's complicated Primarch demigods, it's politics, it's religion, it's also about some pretty harsh points of society. And remember what I've said before, one of the reasons great fiction is so appealing is because it gives us a lens apart from reality to look at hard topics. And in this week of Thanksgiving, with my skeleton earrings, dingle dingle, in this week of Thanksgiving, it would be entirely appropriate to be thankful that this is not our lot in life, or for the lot in life we've been granted, because but for time and geography, any of us could have been born to much different circumstances. The servitors in Warhammer are humans, but they are humans who, for whatever reason, it has been determined that they are not worthy of the full human experience. It is taken from them. It could be because they're prisoners, could be because they were born into a servant class and got taken over, could be because that's an orphan and no one's going to care anyway, could be more reasons than that. None of them are good enough for what a servitor is, because it's taking the computer that is the human brain and nervous system and turning it into something that interfaces with other machinery in order to perform menial tasks or be conduits of communication for technology that we don't know how to communicate with otherwise. A good examples would be in a Titan. A Titan has a princeps. A princeps is not a servitor. A princeps is a mechanicum pilot who has been chosen for whatever reason, that you get to pilot this battle god. So think of it like in the terms of the Evangelions, the Ra Zephon, the Escaflowne type of mech, where it's like more than just that I'm controlling it like it's Voltron. Like it's like Magic Knight Rayearth. You connect it at the soul. If Rayearth gets hurt, you get hurt. If Escaflowne gets hurt, you get hurt. Her old anime knowledge is vast. Vast. You know, same thing like with the Evangelions. If the Eva gets hurt, the pilot gets hurt. That's kind of how the Titans work. But a lot of those mechs are single function, like as in one person's piloting the whole thing. With the Titans, where are my words? With Titans, it's a whole crew a lot of times. Now, the smaller ones could be one dude in there. But the big ones, you get up into the Reavers and the Warlords, yeah, there's a whole crew. There's a crew in every leg and arm and chest and in the head. There's people everywhere. But there are some tasks, the Princeps can't do everything. The Princeps is the head of the ship. And everyone else in the Mechanicums run around to serve and help the Princeps in whatever battle mission they're on. But then there are servitors. Humans who have been plugged directly into the machine as part of the machine to complete a specific function. It could be resetting a particular firing position. It could be just that they are the neuro link between that station and this station. Like, you'll read stories of servitors, basically, you know, their torsos, their spines are exposed, brains are exposed, and they are just connected via filaments and cabling into whatever machine they are serving. Could be for piloting purposes, cleaning purpose, you name it. The servitors can do it all. A lot of Space Marines have servitors who are ambulatory for the purpose of cleaning their armor and weapons after battle. You know, so they can take their stuff off and there's a servitor just polishing away. That's what they do. They don't have humanity anymore. They, as far as we can tell from the outside looking in, they don't think anymore. They just do what they are programmed to do. But you cannot lose the thought that this was a human. And this was done to this human intentionally. And the reason they can do that with so much just a lack of emotion, no empathy, in the 41st millennium is because there are so many worlds and so many people that necessary sacrifices are just accepted. I didn't say it was right. I did not say it was right. Did I say that was right? I did not say that was right. Didn't say it. Did not say that. Do not put those words on my mouth. Because if there's one thing in the Warhammer universe that I can never just be like, I get it, is the Servitors. Because it's tantamount to slavery. No, it's not tantamount. It is. With no possibility of being able to run away. You know, slavery of any kind is never okay. In none of it. Humans, if there's one thing that humans never should have done, was institute the thought of a human owning a human. Humans can't own humans. We might not like each other. We might think one person is less than another, but a sentient human should not be able to own another sentient one. And I think the Emperor actually believes that, which is why servitors exist, because then they're not sentient anymore. They take their humanity away from them. I said lobotomy because I don't have another modern reference to what that is. If you don't remember what a lobotomy was, you know, back in the, you know, the 10s, the 20s, 30s, if your spouse, her monthlies were getting on your nerves a little too much, yeah, take her down to the asylum, they'll shove a pin up her nose, bam, she's a different person. I wish I was joking. But not too far off from that. A lot of the early psychological sciences weren't really about treating people who were going through things. They were about just making them passive enough to control. Not much different than Servitor. The Servitor is giving one part of humanity the ability to control another part of humanity, but separate the emotion out of it, because they are just a husk of a human now. A computer with a human frame. I don't have to be emotionally concerned or morally concerned about what's going on here. I can separate myself from that. And I picked this story in particular, although it's a little bit of a hard read, not gonna lie. The Lionel Johnson. What a name. How can your first name be Lion and your last name be Johnson? Anyway. Robute Gilliman. Fulgrim. Corvus Corax. Lion L. Johnson. Doesn't fit. But whatever. I write it. But when you look at these stories like this, and we see the lion is one of the magnificence of the Primarchs. You would put his like magnanimity up against someone like Robute. I don't know as much about the lion because he's not one of my favorites, but I do know in the stories I've read of him is that he's just one of those all-consuming presence where you can feel just justice radiating out of his ears. Like he is another Robute type personality who wants to see justice done as justly as it can be done. That's what he believes in. And the world that he's on now, Perditus, had been conquered previously by the Imperium of Man, by the lion, and they had found a chaos entity living on the planet that the Perditans were worshiping. They worshipped it as a god because you got a floating black and gray orb that can make lightning come out of its side. It's a god. Let's worship this before it kills us. But when the lion took over, and even though the Perditans tried to defend their god, he slaughtered all those who tried to defend, obviously, because that's what they do in the 45th millennium. And then the Mechanicum comes in to try to make contact with this thing, because they can't destroy it. So let's talk to it. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, we can't. Chaos God we know nothing about. Let's talk to it. And they couldn't figure out how to talk to it. So what they do is start attaching servitors. And initially they use adult servitors, like adult bodies. And the entity is not into that. So then they start using children. Yeah. Children servitors. So I know somebody in the comments is going to be like, oh, servitors were only prisoners who were... This one's 7. What could he have done? 0 things. That's what he could have done. He did nothing to deserve this fate to be thrust upon him. And I picked this story in this week of thankfulness because I think it's important to remember that, yes, I'm very grateful for my life. But part of the reason that I do mission work, part of the reason I I do work around my area and the world with children is because I acknowledge that my position of privilege requires me to do what I can to help those who aren't. That I could have been born into a position through no fault of my own that would have created a world that would have been tragic. There are so many people right now who are finding the smallest things in their lives to complain about and have people be on their victimhood train with them when there are just, quite frankly, bigger fish to fry. That's as close to problematic as I'm getting. In a world of, I work at a corporate company. I work at one of the biggest companies on the planet, and I have a position of teaching and authority. When 60, 70 years ago, that could not have happened. Like, literally, I physically could not have this job because I'm already a girl and I'm black. Those are 2 strikes against me 50, 60, 70 years ago. And today, not only can I have that position, I'm looking for my next promotion at the company, that they are actually in favor of promoting me and making me something bigger and better at my company. I have to be thankful for that. When I've been privileged to go to other nations and experience family and hospitality from people who have so very little compared to what I have, and I want to give them the world. I don't own the world, but I want to give them the world. And they are so opening and welcoming. And I got stories that you don't want to hear right now because it's going to ruin your whole Thanksgiving dinner. But I can't help but be grateful. You know, there are things I could discuss on a very deep, tragic level right now that would just destroy your mind. I'm not going to do that. But I will call attention to the fact that I will speak from a place of I. If not for the fortune of time and country, my life could have been very different. I could have been born into servitude. I could have been born as somebody's property, and I wasn't. And what I'm not going to do with this gift of autonomy, with this gift of my personal freedom, is look for ways to degrade, to put down that which I have, but seek to elevate others who don't have what I have. Because I'm blessed to be born in a time and place where I have options. I can live the life I want. I can marry who I want. I can buy all the dumb anime stuff that I want. I can have work done on my house, and someone who's a different color than me will come in and do all that work. Like, can I be real for a second? Before I moved to live with my husband, I had built a brand new home in Nashville. I had a brand new townhome, 2,000 square feet, 3 stories, 2 master bedrooms. It was nice. A really nice home. And we're remodeling this one. It's great. It's a good time. My marriage means more than a house, okay? I can get another house. I ain't gonna get another him. But, you know, several years ago, I guess it was 6 years ago now, when I had first moved into that house, there were, you know, you get that 1-year warranty with a new house, and there's people running around and fixing stuff. And it did not escape me that there were, nobody get offended here. This is me being positive, okay? But all of these white men were running around answering my call to fix stuff on my house. They repoured my patio, but my door downstairs, my patio door that opened in upstairs, they completely redid them because they weren't completely level and light was coming through. They hit every nail pop. Everything I found, they came in and fixed. There was a pinhole leak in my roof, it turned out, and that's why they gave us a 1-year warranty. And there was a leak in my ceiling in my bedroom because I have the very top floor as my bedroom, and they replaced that whole ceiling and the roof. And I was talking to my mom. This is back when my mom was still with me. She lived with me in that house. I built it for us. And I said, Mom, when you were my age, this never would have happened. When my mom was young, when my mom was graduating high school and all that, my mom got denied valedictorian of her school because she was black. She had the grades, but they would not give it to her. That's real time. That's not 100 years ago in the past. And now I have a corporate job where I stand up and teach executives at a large company and sales professionals how do we make our company better for all of us? That's a big difference. But for a few years, my life wouldn't be that. 100 years ago, there wouldn't have been 20 white men running around my house fixing things for me. So I have to be thankful for what I have now. I have to be thankful for the life that I've been blessed to have. Because but for God's grace, there go I. And I think these stories are not meant to make us feel guilty, because look at me. There's nothing to feel guilty about. None of us can choose when we were born, who we were born to, the parents we were born to, the socioeconomic status we were born in. But as much as our society lets us, and even sometimes beyond that, because I've met people who've got stories. I know people who have literally walked across desert mountains to get to freedom. I've met them personally and talked to them. I know people who lost their entire families in the Holocaust, and yet they still stand as productive humans today. That if I've been given the gift of autonomy, of my personal freedom, the right to choose, the right to exist, that no one is taking that from me, that I'm not in the bottom of a boat being taken from my home and my country to another place to be someone's property, then I must give thanks, because it could have been different. And I think that's the purpose of the Servitor. It is a provocative type of character they've created in Warhammer by including the Servitor. But that's as low as it gets in the Imperium. That they could do this to people of any age. It's almost like the Emperor saying to everyone, be grateful that's not you. You think your life is bad now? You don't like your little hive city? You don't like being a psyker on my golden throne? Oh, it could be so much worse. But that doesn't mean feel guilty. You have a good life. I hope you do. And if you don't, trust me, as someone who has been through, it can get better. It absolutely can. I can't tell you how it's going to get better, but I can 100% promise you that if you will stay the course, do your best, even if it's only by millimeters, a gain is a gain. It can get better. And let's look at stories like this and remind ourselves to be grateful for where we were born, when we were born, who we were born to. And if you were born into unfortunate circumstances, which happens with most people, if your circumstances weren't the best, well, guess what? Autonomy exists. Take that pain and get paid for it. Let that pain and that tragedy motivate you to not pass it to the next generation, to do better with your life, to be the exact opposite of the people that harmed you. Does not excuse what they did, never will. But you can be better and you can rise above. The Servitor stories, when they pop up in Warhammer, are so difficult. They're hard for me to read. And I'll be honest with this, when this story comes out of the Primarch's book in the Horus Heresy, was it like the 30th book or something, 37, something like that. I was not ready. Like, they had just done a whole battle with a Zinch demon in the warp, and I was like, pfft. Then they got to the Servitor boy, and I was like, what is this? But we have to hear the hard stories just as much as we have to hear the adventures, because it's the hard stories that really remind us, oh, yeah, what's happening right now may be awful. It could be worse. But what can I do with what I've been given and my talents and my position to help someone? We can't all help everybody. I don't have that kind of money. But we can all help someone. You've got someone in your sphere that you can help, that you can encourage, that you can say a kind word to, and so do I. And Homegirl practices what she preaches. I am in my encouragement era. Don't know where it came from, don't know how it happened, but I am in my encouragement era. And I hope I encourage you. Now, we're going to get back into this story. It's going to be a little extra. I've warned you twice now. If you made it this far, congratulations. Wouldn't play this at Thanksgiving at the table with your family. A pipe extended from the boy's back, another from the base of his skull, joining him with the mechanical array surrounding the warp engine. As soon as the lion's face fell upon the boy, he sat up, moving jerkily like a badly controlled marionette. The eyes were glassy, the limbs moving stiffly. With a glance at the alien orb, the Primarch saw the golden motes were moving more swiftly than before, forming brief patterns in the dark swirl. "You have returned." The boy's voice was flat and devoid of emotion, his face featureless. A hand raised and raved erratically. "It talks now," said the lion. The words half snarled as he turned on Iaxis, the tech priest shrugged. "We could not discern anything of its construction or workings, but it seemed likely that it had some means to communicate with the Perditans before we were forced to wipe out their society. It took us nearly 30 years to simply devise this crude interface. We have learned a lot from Petrulka. It is very cooperative, if a little enigmatic and, well, alien." "I hear, too," said the boy. "You seem displeased." "You remember me," said the lion. Before he could stop himself, he glared at Iaxis. "Why the boy? We fought to rid Perditus of slaves, and you have given it another." That," said Iaxis with a dismissive wave of the hand. "It's just a servitor, lion. We tried all manner of computulation, logarithmic and cipher-based languages, but none of them worked. When presented with a servitor, though, it was able to tap into the established neural interface in only a few days." "What a coincidence," said the lion. "There is no coincidence." "I was designed to assimilate with the human form, lion." "May I call you lion?" "I overheard the Magos use it. Is that the correct form of address for one such as yourself?" The Primarch wanted to ignore the device's questions, but the boy's voice lingered in his thoughts. "What are you?" said the lion, stepping forward until he was within arm's reach of the puppet servitor. "I am Tachulka, lion. I am everything. I believe the Magos and I are friends. Though he sometimes grows angry with me, I try to remain patient with his outburst." "I asked what you are, not who you are. Curse you. What am I saying? You are a machine, a sophisticated machine and nothing more." "I am everything, lion. Everywhere. I was once servant of the deadly seas. Now I am the friend of the Mechanicum." "You are dangerous," said the lion. "A war is being waged for possession of you. I should destroy you and save much turmoil and bloodshed." "You cannot destroy me, lion. Not physically, nor you desire it. All things desire to possess me. The one they call Typhon dreams much about it. The mind of the other, Medora, is closed to me. It contains too much iron for my liking. You are neither open nor closed. You scare me, lion. It was not until you came that I knew what fear was. Your return scares me, lion. I do not wish to be destroyed." It was hard not to imagine the words being uttered were from the boy. But the lion forced himself to focus on the glistening orb rather than its animated avatar. "Iaxis, my puppet needs more nutrients." As Tachulka said this, the boy's bladder emptied, sending a watery stream down his leg to puddle on the plasteel floor. My apologies, Lion. I have not yet mastered the basic functions of this form. Its pathways were underdeveloped. It is the third servitor we have had to attach, explained the tech priest. The previous ones aged unnaturally, hence the youth of this specimen. We are hoping it will survive for a few years longer than previous interfaces. You seem to know a lot about what is happening on the surface, said the lion, suppressing the distaste he felt at Iaxis's uncaring attitude to the expenditure of human lives, even if they were unthinking servitors. They pass through me, and I come to know them, said T'Chulka. Their minds touch upon mine. Yours does too, but it is far too heavy to carry. How do you cope with such a burden? My intellect, said the lion. Your guilt. The lion did not answer straight away, not trusting himself to reveal something in front of Iaxis that he would rather remained inside his own thoughts. What use is it? He demanded of Iaxis, turning away from the boy puppet. It was agreed with the Mechanicum that Perditus Ultima and the device were spared only because you thought it might have some purpose we could harness for the Imperium. And it does. Iaxis seemed quite animated at this. T'Chulka, will you please show the Primarch what you are capable of? Before the lion could offer any protest, he felt his mind and body lurch, the sensation somewhere between that of warp translation and rapid teleportation. Darkness clouded his vision for an instant, and when his eyes were clear, he found himself no longer in the cavern beneath Perditus Ultima. They were unmistakably in his throne room, aboard the Invincible Reason. T'Chulka and his avatar, minus most of the monitoring equipment, floated behind the throne, while Iaxis stood where he had been, a couple of meters to the Primarch's right. Sirens were blaring, and the voice of Captain Stinius was bellowing over the internal speakers. Battle stations, all crews report to battle stations. Gela Field is being raised, 5 minutes to full enclosure. Repeat, we have unexpectedly translated to the warp. Gela Field is being raised, be prepared for attack. The lion was dumbfounded. Unable to comprehend what had happened for several seconds, he eventually realized that T'Chulka must have moved the battle barge into the warp and displaced itself, the Primarch and the tech priest, onto the vessel in an instant later. Part of the lion was appalled by the dangerous situation and Iaxis' naivete in allowing this to happen. A greater part of him marveled at the unprecedented power on display. T'Chulka, said the lion, slowly, thinking it would be wise to be friends with the unpredictable machine. Where are we now? We are joined to the place you call Perditus, Lion. The Primarch turned to Iaxis, brow furrowed. Joined? We are in the warp. How is this possible? We were far too close to the world, to the star for translation. T'Chulka does not have to worry about that sort of thing, Lion, the tech priest said with a toothless grin. It is able to burrow directly from real space to warp space without any backwash or gravimetric displacement. Why have I not learnt of this before? Demanded the lion. Our studies are far from complete, replied Iaxis. At the moment, we are at the whim of T'Chulka, and as you see, it is a little, well, temperamental. T'Chulka, I wish you to return us and the ship to Perditus Ultima. The lion kept his tone calm and friendly, suddenly aware of how precarious his position had become. Of course, lion. The boy's thin, starved lips twisted into an abhorrent approximation of a smile. What do you wish me to do with the rest of your ships? I told y'all that one was going to have some moments in it. I did not lie. That book is the Primarchs. Do not be dismayed. Do not be put off. Not all stories are nice. Not all stories have happy endings. Not all characters in all stories are going to save the damsel, get the kingdom, conquer the whatever. Sometimes it's just a sad story, and there is no vindication. But that's fiction. That does not have to be your story. You have autonomy. You have choice. And you can choose differently than what the cosmos decided to rain upon you. Smell that? It's the smell of the Thanksgiving dinner I'm cooking. You know it's going to be good. Go be thankful with your family. Go enjoy a time with friends. Or heck, sit back in your favorite armchair, turn on your favorite movie, and grab your favorite drink and have a staycation of your dreams. If you're one of the unfortunate souls who has to work retail the day after Thanksgiving, I've had to do that in my teen years, I'll pray for you. Praying that humanity behaves on the morrow. But it's Thanksgiving, y'all. Find reasons to be thankful. Because but for the luck of time and territory, there goes I. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.